Mysteries, Episode 1. I am reading from Venus with Her Head in the Clouds by Wednesday Palacios. I am not a narrator, but I am the author of this book, which can be found at www.amazon.books. It's www.amazon.com/books. And the name of the book is Venus with Her Head in the Clouds. This is the first book in the series featuring our hero, Venus St. John. The time is 1977 and the place is Venice Beach, California. This book is dedicated to my life partner, Popo Palacios, and our boys, Dustin, Keith, and Andrew. Thank you for being there. Chapter 1. There it was, the body on the floor with a bullet hole neatly in the center of her forehead. The date was June 7th, 1977, and I was only 19 years old at the time, and I had never seen a dead body before. What's worse, it was my birthday, and she was my best friend, Jill Abraham. I screamed and fell to my knees, cradling her head. Was this really Jill? My Jill? I couldn't believe what was happening, because to me, Jill was the most beautiful, funny, luckiest girl I had ever known. As a matter of fact, Jill was luckier than most people I knew. At 19 years old, she had her own apartment and the best clothes and more money than anyone in our small circle of friends. Her parents owned a few apartment buildings in Venice, California, where we grew up. As children, we went to Lutheran school together, and we graduated from Venice High in 1976. None of this was the precursor for either of us getting murdered, but there she was, lying on the living room floor with a hole in her forehead. My hands were shaking as I took a joint out of my jeans pocket and tried to light it while standing there looking around the apartment. In the living room, she had the usual macrame wall hangings, a dark purple sofa with two matching armchairs, a white shag rug that was wall to wall, glass coffee table, and two matching glass end tables. There was only a small television because she liked to watch television in bed, and that's where the bigger color television was. To the right of the apartment door was a small, neat kitchen. Jill was a neat freak. She was so cool, so laid back, and we had that one thing in common. We were both biracial, with a black mother and a white father. That's what brought us together, because we were different than anyone else. I decided not to light the joint. My hands were shaking too much, so I threw it out the window and watched it hit the sizzling hot pavement. I looked away as tears fell down my cheeks. I thought I heard someone yell, "Oh wow, a joint just fell from heaven. Thanks God." We were in the middle of a heat wave in Los Angeles. And I had to call the damn police because someone had just killed my best friend and lover. How in the hell was I going to explain that to myself or anyone else? Oh my God, I couldn't stop the wail that escaped my body, and I began screaming again as I called her parents. Afterward, I shakily dialed the police and reported the crime. My voice was quivering, and I knew why. Everything I cared about was gone. What was I going to tell her parents? When I called them, her mother began screaming in the phone, and I realized we were both screaming. Her words were unintelligible, but I let her rant. She had to get it out. Then I unlocked the front door of the apartment and waited for everyone to come. Sitting on the purple sofa, staring at my dead lover until I couldn't take it anymore, and I threw myself across her body, sobbing. What followed was a madhouse. Police photographers taking pictures, detectives in worn slacks and armpits stained with sweat, while the fingerprint guys turned her apartment into a smudged and dusty mess. A morgue crew came and picked up Jill and put her in a body bag. When they zipped it up over her face, I started to tremble. The shock was over, and now I was seeing it for what it really was. The death of someone I loved, and it was real, and it was ugly. I never knew blood had a smell, and there were other smells that I was now acutely aware of. Jill had become incontinent when she died, and I could smell her feces mixed with the smell of gun smoke. I started to cry again. Mr. and Mrs. Abraham burst through the door as Jill's body was being wheeled out. Mrs. Clarissa Abraham was a thin, gorgeous black woman with soft, long brown hair and big, gorgeous brown eyes. Her husband, Jonathan Abraham, had long sideburns, curly blonde hair, blue eyes, and wore blue bell-bottom jeans and a white t-shirt. Everybody was sweaty. I was dripping with sweat, my nose was running, and I just couldn't stop crying. The detectives took over, sitting the parents down on our sofa and pulling me to one side to ask me questions. "I'm Detective Crown," said the white one in worn blue slacks and a worn short-sleeved shirt. He had curly brown hair and looked like a beat-up version of the father from the Brady Bunch. "Can you tell me what happened?" My voice was shaking. "I came here and found Jill dead like that. There was nobody else here. I don't know why someone would do something like this." The black detective in a big afro wearing a multicolored dashiki and black slacks flipped open his wallet showing his badge. "I'm Detective Brownlee, and we'd like to know what is your relationship to Miss Abraham. How did you get in?" "She's my best friend. I'm here a lot, so she gave me a key," I lied. What was I going to say? We're lesbians, sir. No, not even her parents knew about our love affair. My parents died in a fiery car crash on the 405 when I was in the 10th grade. The Abrahams had become my foster parents after Jill's campaign of pleading to her parents made them give in. "What's your name, age, occupation?" asked Detective Crown. "Venus St. John. I'm 19 years old, and I own the soup bowl down by the beach," I answered, and I showed him my driver's license that I pulled from my back pocket. I never carried a purse. I started crying again, and for some inexplicable reason, I wanted to kick myself. "My parents used to own the soup bowl before they died," I explained. "They died in a car crash a few years ago." Mr. Abraham pulled himself apart from Jill's tearful, disheveled mother, cleared his throat, and said, "Venus has been our foster child since the crash. Venus and Jill have always been best friends, more like sisters, actually." Mrs. Abraham wiped her red-rimmed eyes with a corner of her sleeveless yellow blouse and said, "I'm Jill's mother, Clarissa," sniffling before breaking into sobs again. Her skin was a smooth caramel brown, unblemished, and her hair softly framed her face. Jill may have gotten her complexion from her father, but she definitely had gotten her good looks from her mother. Detective Brownlee looked at Clarissa with just a hint of admiration, while Detective Crown kept things very businesslike. Crown rubbed his stubbly jaw and asked, "Aren't you the guy that's trying to make Venice all beautiful by knocking down the bungalows and building apartment buildings?" He was pointing at Mr. Abraham with his pencil and alternately scribbled in a small notepad. Mr. Abraham flushed and said, "I only have 4 buildings." Brownlee piped in, "Abraham and St. John. Yeah, I remember the shitstorm that created with the hippies. Man, they must have picketed your office for months." 1 week, to be exact, snapped Mr. Abraham. And shouldn't we focus on who killed my daughter? So I have stopped at page 6 for those who would like to follow along with Venus with her head in the clouds. This is from the Venus Mystery Series, and this is the beginning of book 1. The next book to come out probably later in the year will be Venus at Sunrise, also featuring our hero Venus St. John. And like it says, it's set in 1977, before computers or cell phones or even the old answering machine wasn't available back then. And you called somebody and they didn't answer the phone, you either had to call back or pop by their house, and maybe they might be home. So I invite you to purchase this book, www.amazon.com/books, Venus with Her Head in the Clouds, by Wednesday Palacios, Palacios. You also can follow us on Twitter at Venus Wednesday with comments, hopefully nice comments about the book, discussions, and we have a Facebook group page called the Venus Mysteries group, and you can look for us there, post comments, observations. Don't talk about my typos, it's not nice. Anyway, like I said, my name is Miss Wednesday, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thank you.